Good morning and happy Monday. It's hopefully a slowish week heading to the end of the year. But this might also be a week when you're thinking about some of the changes that you want to make going into January, going into the next year. And so today I want to talk about, well, how do we make change on our team without rocking the boat? And this is a question that I hear from business owners all of the time. And I definitely heard from executives in the corporate world all the time, especially when I was in a role of driving changes through team operations. And I think the first thing we got to do is recognize if we want to make change, we got to make the change. And so, not to be afraid of it, not to be afraid of talking about it, not to be afraid of setting context about why we're doing it, and not being afraid to set up whoever is doing it for success. Now, I am begging you, as the person, like I said, that had to implement change and didn't always get that support, that like this is going to be the downfall. Like if you don't set the stage, make sure it's really, really clear to everybody what's happening and why. That's why it doesn't go well. It's usually actually not that the broader team doesn't adopt it. It's that some of these kind of foundations weren't put into place. So I just want to talk about that today and get you set up so that you can roll out some new cool stuff in the new year and you feel like, well, everybody will be on board because you've done these things. So, first of all, we want to set expectations with our teams around why we're approaching something. So let's say you're going to start like a new work tracking system or a new timesheets thing, or you're having somebody come in to do some consulting work to help you make things easier to get done, right? Like let's say you brought me in and you wanted me to help your team operate more effectively, help you manage your folks better. This doesn't work if you just like drop it on people's laps. So you got to start by saying, hey, I've recognized there's some issues. Folks have shared feedback. I want to set you up for success. So I've been thinking about it, and this is the approach that I want to try. Okay, so when we tee that up with our teams and we frame it in the way of like, I heard you, and that's why I'm taking action. I see what's going on, and that's why I'm taking action. I want you to be supported, and that's why I'm taking action. Now people are going to be brought on board. And now they're saying, like, oh, when I share feedback, it actually goes somewhere. And so this is going to be so important because that's going to be the seed that you plant to then point back to over and over and over. Okay. We always say, right, we set expectations and then we bring feedback back to that. So setting expectations with your team also looks like saying, and because I've heard this feedback, I'm going to do a number of things to make things better. So like I want, I'm asking for you to be on board and to be participating in that. And if you get pushback from folks saying, oh, I don't want you to change everything, that's what we meant. I think saying like, hey, we're gonna try stuff. I'm gonna ask for feedback and let's see how it goes. Okay. Really making it like, oh, we're not overhauling everything. We're not trying to like take the whole ship down, right? We're just trying to make sure folks have the support they need. But again, we don't just back down if folks say, I don't know. We don't go, okay, never mind. We say, no, you know what? We are going to try this. I want you all on board and I'm going to be asking for feedback. Okay, so you see, I hold firm there, but you also make it clear that like it's not the end all be all. So the next thing that's so important, and this is actually something that's really fundamental for any change management effort, really any kind of time you're going to do that in a major organization or in a small business, is to find your champions inside the business, inside your team, are going to be on board with the change management exercise, right? With the change. So if you are bringing in an ops consultant or something like that, someone on board that's really excited about that can like help rally the internal team, like, hey, isn't this great? Isn't this awesome? We get this kind of support. If you're changing the way that you track work or time or payroll or whatever, and it's kind of like a little bit of some steps that people can get on board with, getting people to say like, yeah, isn't this great? Like it was really complicated. It was frustrating. And this isn't someone that's like blowing smoke. No, this is someone that helps quiet down some of that internal chatter so that you can keep moving forward the momentum. Because a lot of times you have the opposite. You have someone that's like, oh, I don't like any change. And they're like bringing down the whole ship. And you need someone there, like right there with them to be like, hey, I don't know if this is really that big of a deal. Like, can we try this? Who really cares? Right? That's going to help balance out the tone and get things moving forward. Now, how do you find that person? I think generally in our team, we have people that are like really on board and eager to change things in a productive, great way. Those are going to be the champions there. If you don't have anybody like that, I think it can be a product of really collecting feedback, saying like, who wants to kind of be my right hand to help get this going. And so maybe it's not someone that's out of the gate that way, but it's someone that's willing to take that role. Now, speaking of someone trying to take that role, it's also, a lot of times we have to have, maybe we have someone internally driving change or we have someone externally driving change, whatever that looks like. We have to make sure that person is has the autonomy and has been deputized by you to make the changes that you are asking them to make. And this is like a stab through the heart what I have been through in much of my career, being asked by folks, senior leaders, to roll out a new system, to drive change in this way, to set up our planning in this way, to change the way things are going. And then that person is like ghosts me when it's time to give air cover. And I'm sharing that because this happens in massive, massive companies, and it happens in small companies. It's happened in, a company I was in with 8 or 9 people, and it happened in some of the big folks that I worked at with 30, 50, 100,000 employees. Okay, is that when you ask for change as that leader, when you say, hey, I want work to be done in this way, I want us to do the quarterly planning in this way, and we work together and figure out a plan, and you get pushback from your team, from your leaders, from whoever it is, and you're not there to show up, accountability is like absent. That is, you've lost everybody there. And you've taken an A player, myself, that was like really, really gonna drive exactly what you wanted. And you told that person, I'm not gonna back you up. And then that person says, screw this, I don't need to do this anymore. Okay. So when you have that momentum going and you have someone that's got a great plan, you got to support them, because there's always going to be chatter when you roll out anything. Okay, there's always going to be a little bit of like, do we need this? Because in general, people resist, they resist any kind of change, right? Because it feels like it's going to be a headache. And a lot of times when we make a change, it's not done through the steps that I'm describing. And so it does feel complicated. But when you are on board with something and you ask them to do it and you are paying them to do it and you are like, that's their job, let them fly. And the way to do that is, again, to get really aligned on expectations and then to give them that air cover so that they can be successful. And what does that look like? Well, that looks like telling the broader team, like, hey, I have this person that's going to be doing this. They're going to be rolling out planning with the new templates. They're going to be on, getting some of this task tracking system. They're going to be helping, kind of organize some of the way that we're doing stuff, make it easier. And I have asked them to do it. I want them to do this. And you know why? Because it's addressing all the feedback that we heard from you. And that's what I'm doing to solve it. This is one of the many things I'm doing to solve it, to make sure everyone's set up for success. And I'm really excited for this. I'm excited to have it be easier to get things done on our team. I'm excited for folks to feel less stressed. I'm excited for your feedback to be implemented. And that's why I brought this person in. So when you frame it like that, people are going to be on board. And that's not scary. That's not saying, oh, we're going to whip everybody into shape, we're going to change everything. No. And to not be afraid to set that tone for your team that, hey, I asked for this because you asked for this, and I'm excited about this person doing it. And then we want to say, hey, and this person's going to be making some calls. And I want them to do that. I want to take a step back. I want to let them run with it. Okay. So when they ask you to do something, I already know, like, I'm on board with it. So you don't need to check it with me. You don't need to later send me an email or a text like, do I have to do this? Yeah. Like, I'm asking you to do that. And again, it's going to be we're going to try this. It's a pilot. We're going to get feedback. We're going to see. But I am asking you to get on board. And again, when we do that, when we set that person up for success, when we give them the air cover, now it's so much easier for them to be already implementing something that's maybe a little bit tough. They have to do some hand holding. They have to really be kind of like doing it slowly, but they don't have to do it against an uphill battle where people are like, screw that person. I don't have to listen to you. I'm going to go back to the boss and ask them. Because that's where it breaks down. I'm telling you, that is the exact place that things go wrong, is when people say, do we really have to do this? And they look to you as the boss and you're like, I don't know. Do we have to do this? The answer is you asked for it. So yeah, we do. We got to try it. And if there's real feedback around the approach or around, the way it's being rolled out or some of the nuances there, then yeah, we want to hear the feedback. But like making a plan and committing to it, and then one piece of feedback or a few folks, and we're like, thrash, no, we're not doing anymore. Think about the tone that sets for your team, that we don't stick with things that we say, that we can kind of just, anytime someone has a question or feedback, we just kind of like throw it out the window. That kind of thing really, again, it's like throws accountability out the window, and it really chips away at your integrity as a leader. Like, hey, I'm committed to making this place better, and yet I can't really show up and do the hard things. So those are the most important things when you are trying to roll out change in your team. And it doesn't rock the boat. That's why I said, like, without rocking the boat, because this actually doesn't rock the boat. What rocks the boat is when we have no expectations set. We don't have a clear plan. We didn't get that person, that insider, to kind of support it, to help reinforce the narrative, the why. When we roll it out too quickly and we don't give that person air cover, well, that's going to rock the boat. But the stuff that I just described, that's how to bring people on board. And that's how you get that person that's driving that change, all the support they needed so that they can be successful. Okay. So, and this is something, if you want support and you're struggling and you've been trying to roll something out and it's just not clicking, send me a message, schedule an SOS call, right? This is an hour call where we share a challenge and we dive right into it, give you some tools, strategies, things to do right away to get through it. So if you want to schedule that time, it's leahgarvin.com/SOS. Again, an hour, we can get you on your way to figure out wherever you're feeling stuck. And I would love to support you. All right. See you next time.